If you planted an apple seed today, how long would you wait before getting frustrated that there's no apple tree? Think about it. Would you wait 1 day, 1 week, 1 month? No, you wouldn't, because you know something fundamental about how gardens work. You know it takes time. You know the seed has to crack open underground where no one can see it. You know roots have to go down before fruit can go up. You know winter comes before spring. You know the tree has to grow strong enough to hold the weight of the fruit. You know all of this. You accept it. You don't yell at the soil. You don't dig up the seed to check on it every morning. You don't compare your garden to your neighbor's garden after 3 days. You wait, you water, you trust. But with money, you do the complete opposite. You plant a seed today and you want to harvest tomorrow. Now you put $20 in savings and you're frustrated that you're not rich yet. You make one extra debt payment and you're angry that the balance barely moved. You start budgeting and you expect peace to show up instantly. You say one mantra and you wonder why your bank account didn't double overnight. That's not how the garden works. That's not how God works. God invented the seed. God invented the soil. God invented the seasons. And God invented the waiting. So this morning we're going to talk about the law of the seed. It's the most important principle in the entire Bible for your finances. And nobody talks about it because it sounds too simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. Simple doesn't mean weak. Simple means foundational. Simple means it works every single time, for every single person, in every single season. And here's a different question before we go deeper. What have you been planting? Not just with your money, with your words, with your attention, with your habits, with the stories you tell yourself when you look in the mirror at 5:30 a.m., with what you watch, with what you listen to, with who you spend time with. The law of the seed is this: you don't get what you want. You don't get what you pray for. You don't get what you hope for. You get what you plant every single time. No exceptions, no shortcuts, no miracles that bypass the law of the seed. Even miracles in the Bible came through seeds. Jesus multiplied the loaves and fish, but there were loaves and fish to multiply. There was a seed. The widow's oil multiplied, but there was a little oil to start. There was a seed. You cannot harvest what you have not planted. You cannot keep harvesting what you have stopped planting. So let's go to the garden. Let's learn how seeds actually work. If you've been planting and seeing nothing grow, write one word in the comments. The word is waiting. Name where you are. There was a farmer, not from 2,000 years ago, a modern farmer. His name was Miguel. You've never heard of him, but his story is your story. Miguel inherited 60 acres from his father. Good land, rich, dark soil, a river running through the south end of the property, oak trees along the east boundary. It was the kind of land that made you want to be a farmer just by looking at it. But when Miguel took over, the land was a mess. His father had been sick for 7 years. 7 years of no planting, 7 years of no tending, 7 years of letting the land do whatever it wanted. Weeds everywhere, thistles as tall as a man, broken fences, irrigation system rusted and cracked. The soil was depleted, compacted, hard. Nothing had been planted in 3 full seasons. Miguel walked the land on his first day as the owner. He stood in the middle of the south field, the one closest to the river, and he looked at the weeds. He looked at the cracked soil. He looked at the broken fence posts leaning sideways. He had a choice, a real choice. the kind of choice that feels heavy in your chest. He could look at the weeds and give up. He could say, "This land is cursed. My father couldn't make it work. I'll never make it work. I'll sell it to a developer. Take whatever I can get, walk away, buy a condo in the city. Never think about this place again." That was one choice. Or he could plant. He chose to plant. Here's what Miguel did that most people wouldn't. He didn't just throw seeds on the ground and hope. He didn't pray for a miracle harvest without doing the work. He got to work. First, he pulled the weeds, not some of them, all of them, root by root. And the thistles had roots that went down 2 feet. He had to dig. He had to sweat. He had to curse under his breath. Took him 3 months. 3 months of pulling weeds before he planted a single seed. Second, he tilled the soil. The ground was hard, compacted, no air in it, no life in it. He brought in a tractor, broke up the soil, turned it over, let the sun hit the underside, let the rain soften what had been hard. Third, he tested the soil. He sent samples to the Agricultural Extension Office. They told him what was missing: nitrogen, phosphorus, organic matter. He added what the soil lacked. He didn't complain about the cost. He didn't say, "I can't afford to add anything." He invested in the soil because he knew the soil is everything. Fourth, he planted, 1 seed at a time, in rows, with space between, not too close, not too far. Just right. He didn't plant corn in every square inch. He left room for growth. He left margin. Fifth, he watered every morning before sunrise, before the heat of the day, before the wind picked up. He walked the rows with a hose or a watering can or a sprinkler. He didn't water once and assume it was enough. He watered consistently, faithfully, boringly. Sixth, he waited. The first week, nothing. The second week, nothing. The third week, nothing visible. But underground, things were happening. Seeds were cracking open. Roots were reaching down. The first month, tiny green shoots appeared. Not impressive, not harvest ready, just little green promises. Miguel kept watering, kept weeding, kept waiting. 6 months later, his first harvest came. Not a massive harvest, not the kind that makes the cover of a farming magazine, but enough. Enough to pay his bills, enough to save seeds for next season, enough to prove that the land wasn't cursed. It was just neglected. 2 years later, Miguel's farm was the most productive in the county. Neighbors who had called him crazy for not selling to the developer asked him, "What's your secret?" He said, "I stopped asking why nothing was growing and started asking what I needed to plant." Miguel is you. Your finances are the land. The weeds are your bad habits. The depleted soil is your scarcity mindset. The broken irrigation is your lack of a system. The river is God's provision. Always there, always flowing, always enough. You haven't been planting. You've been looking at the weeds and calling yourself cursed. You've been looking at the hard soil and saying, "This will never work." You've been blaming the land instead of working the land. This morning, I'm asking you directly, what are you going to plant? Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you have more money. Today. What seed will you put in the ground today? What seed will you plant today? Write one word in the comments. Seed. Just that. Name your first step. The things that destroy your wealth aren't usually the big things. They're never the big things. They're the small things you don't even think about. The tiny, invisible, daily leaks that you've normalized. 3 categories of seeds you're planting: without realizing it. The first category is convenience seeds. The $5 coffee every morning. That's not a treat. That's a seed. $150 a month. $1,800 a year. 10 years? $18,000. Not invested, not saved, not given, burned. For coffee that's cold in 20 minutes. The delivery fee because you didn't want to cook. $6. 3 times a week. $72 a month. $864 a year. 10 years? $8,640. For food you ate in 15 minutes and forgot about. When the subscription you forgot to cancel. $14.99 a month. You don't even use it. You haven't opened the app in 6 months. That's $180 a year. 10 years? $1,800. For nothing. The second category is avoidance seeds. The late fee you pay because you forgot to schedule the payment. $35 happens twice a year. That's $70 a year. 10 years, $700 for forgetting. The overdraft fee because you didn't check your balance before swiping your card. $35 happens 3 times a year. That's $105. 10 years, over $1,000 for not looking. The interest on your credit card because you only pay the minimum. Say you have $5,000 in debt at 20% interest. You pay the minimum of $100 a month. It will take you over 8 years to pay off that debt, and you will pay over $3,000 in interest for the privilege of being in debt. The third category is comparison seeds. The new phone you didn't need because your friend got one. $800. The vacation you couldn't afford because everyone on social media was at the beach. $2,000. The car upgrade because your neighbor got a new one. $5,000 in additional debt. You're not planting these seeds intentionally. You're not waking up and saying, today I will plant a seed of financial stress, but you are planting them. And they are growing. They are growing into a harvest of anxiety, of sleepless nights, of fights with your spouse, of feeling like you'll never get ahead, of looking at your friends and wondering what's wrong with you. Here's the question you need to ask yourself. If you keep planting what you're planting right now, what will your harvest look like in 5 years? Not what you want it to look like. What will it actually look like based on your current seeds? Be honest. Write it down. Look at it. That's your future if nothing changes. Here's the good news. The same law works in reverse. You can plant different seeds, tiny seeds, almost invisible seeds, and they will grow into something you cannot imagine. Which of these 3 seeds is draining you the most? Right. Convenience, avoidance, or comparison. Just one word. Getting 1% better every day leads to being 37 times better after 1 year. 1%, not 10%, not 50%, not 100%. 1%. 1% daily improvement compounds into 3,700% improvement annually. That's not magic. That's math. That's the law of compound interest applied to your habits. Apply this to your finances. What is 1% of your income? If you make $4,000 a month, 1% is $40. If you make $3,000 a month, 1% is $30. If you make $2,000 a month, 1% is $20. What could you do with that 1% today? You could put it in your emergency fund. $40 today, $40 tomorrow, $40 the next day. After 1 month, you have $1,200. After 1 year, you have over $14,000 from $40 a day. You could pay it toward your smallest debt. $40 extra on top of your minimum payment. That tiny extra payment shortens your debt journey by months, maybe years. You could give it to someone who needs it more than you. $40 to a single mom, $40 to a food bank, $40 to your church. Watch what God does with that seed. You could buy a budgeting tool. You could take your spouse out for coffee and talk about money without fighting. You could buy a book about investing. You could pay for a course that teaches you a skill that increases your income. 1%, that's it. Most people try to change everything at once. They make a budget that cuts all fun. They swear off coffee forever. They decide to save 20% of their income starting tomorrow. And they fail, because 20% is too big. Forever is too long. Tomorrow never comes. The 1% approach is different. It's so small you can't fail. You can put $40 in savings today. You can. You have no excuse not to. You have $40. Skip one dinner out. Skip 2 coffees. Cancel 1 subscription. The money is there. You just have to redirect it. Then tomorrow you do it again. And the next day. After a week, you barely notice the sacrifice. After a month, it's a habit. After a year, it's a lifestyle. After 10 years, it's a fortune. That's the law of the seed. Not dramatic, not sexy, not viral, but it works every single time. What is your 1% today? Don't tell me. Decide. Right now, before the sentence ends. Pick one thing. $40, or $30, or $20, or $10. Pick a number. Pick an action. Write it down on a piece of paper. Put that paper on your bathroom mirror. Do it today. That's planting. Everything else is just wishing. What is your 1% today? Write the number in the comments, 40, 30, 20, or 10. Just the number. Commit to it. The stories we tell ourselves are more powerful than the facts. You can have $60,000 in debt. That's a fact. It's a number, it's real. But the story you tell yourself about that debt is what's actually controlling your behavior, your emotions, your decisions, your future. Here are the most common stories people tell themselves about money. See if any of these sound familiar. Story 1. I'm bad with money. I've always been bad with money. My parents were bad with money. It's genetic. It's in my blood. I can't change it. This story feels true because you've been telling it for years, but it's a lie. Being bad with money is not an identity. It's a set of behaviors. Behaviors can change. Story 2. I'll never get out of this. Every time I make progress, something happens. The car breaks. The kid gets sick. The roof leaks. It's like the universe is against me. This story feels true because setbacks hurt, but it's a lie. Setbacks are not signs that you're cursed. Setbacks are part of every financial journey. The difference between people who get out of debt and people who don't is not the absence of setbacks. It's what they do after the setback. Story 3. Rich people are greedy. If I had money, I'd become someone I don't want to be. I'd get selfish. I'd forget about God. I'd forget about my friends. This story feels noble. It feels humble. But it's a lie. Money doesn't change who you are. It amplifies who you already are. If you're generous with little, you'll be generous with much. If you're selfish with little, you'll be selfish with much. The problem is not money. The problem is the heart. Story 4. Money is hard to get and easy to lose. I have to hold on tight. I can't be generous because I might need it later. This story feels wise. It feels responsible. But it's a lie. Money flows. When you hold it tight, it suffocates. When you release it, it multiplies. Those stories are seeds. You have been watering them for years. Every time you say, "I'm bad with money," you plant that seed deeper. Every time you say, "I'll never get ahead," you water it. Every time you say, "Money is hard," you fertilize it. Those seeds have grown into a harvest. Not a harvest of wealth, a harvest of more of the same story. A self-fulfilling prophecy. Here's the truth. The fact is, you have debt. That's real. The fact is, you've made mistakes. That's real. The fact is, you don't know everything about money. That's real. But the story you tell yourself can change. Today. Right now. At 5:30 a.m. When the new story is this: I am learning to be a good steward. I have made mistakes, but mistakes are not my identity. I am not my debt. I am not my past. I am a child of the King who is learning to handle resources. Every single day, I get a little better. That story is also a seed. If you plant it, if you water it with action, if you speak it out loud every morning, it will grow into a harvest you cannot imagine. Here's your homework. Take out a piece of paper. Write down the story you have been telling yourself about money. The old story. The lie. Be honest. Write it word for word. Look at it. Read it out loud. Feel how heavy it is. Feel how it makes your chest tight. Rip it up. Tear it into pieces. Throw it away. Take another piece of paper. Write down your new story, the truth. Write it in present tense. Not "I will be," I am. I am a steward. I am learning. I am planting. Read it out loud 3 times. Put it on your bathroom mirror. Read it every morning for 30 days. That's planting a new seed. That seed will grow. What's the old story you're tearing up today? Write one word in the comments. I am. Just that. Start your new story. Draw a circle. Inside the circle, write things you can control. Outside the circle, things you can't control. Most people spend 90% of their mental and emotional energy on things outside the circle. The economy, interest rates, what the government does, what their boss does, what their spouse does, what their neighbor thinks. They have no energy left for the things inside the circle, the things they can actually change. Let me draw your circle right now. Inside your circle, what you eat for breakfast, whether you check your bank account today, whether you make a budget, whether you stick to that budget, whether you give first, whether you pay $5 extra on your debt, whether you listen to this video or scroll on your phone, whether you speak mantras or speak complaints, whether you wake up at 5:30 a.m. or hit snooze, whether you read your new story or fall back into the old one. That's it. That's your circle. It's small. It's almost embarrassingly small, but it's powerful. The things inside your circle, when you do them consistently, change the things outside your circle. Not overnight, not dramatically, over time. The farmer cannot control the rain, but he can control whether he plants. The farmer cannot control the price of his crop, but he can control the quality of his soil. The farmer cannot control the season, but he can control whether he works during the season. The farmer cannot control the weeds his enemy plants, but he can control whether he pulls them. What are you spending your energy on that you cannot change? Are you worried about the economy? Stop. You cannot change the economy. Are you angry about interest rates? Stop. You cannot change interest rates. Are you frustrated that your boss doesn't pay you more? Stop. You cannot control your boss. Are you resentful that your spouse spends too much? Stop. You cannot control your spouse. You can only control yourself. Focus on your circle. What's in it? What can you do today? Not tomorrow. Today. Do that. Ignore everything else. That's the law of the seed. Focus on your planting. Leave the harvest to God. Here's the secret most people never learn. When you focus on what you can control grows. Your circle expands. As you become faithful with small things, you get ready for bigger things. As you master $40 a day, you get ready for $400 a day. As you manage a small budget, you get ready for a large budget. As you steward a little, God gives you more to steward. Whoever is faithful with very little will also be faithful with much. If you're not faithful with your circle, why would it expand? Here's your homework. Draw your circle right now. On paper, inside the circle, write everything you can control about your finances today. Outside the circle, write everything you're worried about that you cannot control. Put a big X through the outside. Stop looking at it. Stop giving it your energy. Look at the inside. Pick 3 things from inside your circle. Do them today, not tomorrow. Today. What's one thing inside your circle you'll do today? Write it in the comments. Name your action. Be patient, therefore, brothers, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it until it receives the early and the late rains. The farmer waits. The farmer doesn't demand. The farmer doesn't dig up the seeds to check on them. The farmer doesn't compare his field to the field next door. The farmer waits. Here's what we do. We plant a seed on Monday and want to harvest by Friday. We give first on Sunday and want to check in the mail by Tuesday. We start budgeting in January and want to be debt-free by March. When the harvest doesn't come on our timeline, we assume something is wrong. We assume God isn't listening. We assume the system doesn't work. We assume we're the exception. The farmer knows something we forget. The seed has to die. Before it can live, it has to die. The seed has to crack open. The outer shell has to break. Everything the seed was has to be surrendered for everything the seed will become. That's the process. That's the waiting. Waiting is not passive. Waiting is not sitting on your couch, eating chips and wondering why nothing is happening. Waiting in the garden is active. The farmer waits, but while he waits, he waters. He weeds. He watches. He protects the young plants from pests. He builds trellises for the vines. He prunes the branches that aren't producing. Waiting is not doing nothing. Waiting is doing the right things while you wait for the results. Are you waiting actively or passively? Are you watering your seeds? Are you weeding your garden? Are you protecting your progress from the pests of doubt and fear and comparison? Or are you just sitting there, frustrated that nothing has happened yet? The law of the seed has a waiting period. You cannot skip it. You cannot rush it. You cannot bribe your way out of it. You can only walk through it, one day at a time, 1% at a time, one seed at a time. The waiting is not wasted. The waiting is when the roots grow. The roots are invisible. You cannot see them. Without roots, the plant falls over when the wind comes. The wind always comes. The waiting is when the plant develops strength. Strength to hold fruit, strength to survive drought, strength to keep standing when storms hit. Your waiting right now is not punishment, it's preparation. God is growing your roots. Don't despise the waiting. Don't curse the waiting. Don't assume the waiting means you did something wrong. The waiting means you're a farmer. Farmers wait. Are you in the waiting right now? Write one word in the comments, waiting. You are not alone in this season. A farmer sowed good wheat in his field. While everyone was sleeping, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat. When the wheat sprouted, the weeds also appeared. The servants said, "Should we pull up the weeds?" The farmer said, "No. If you pull the weeds, you might pull up the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. Then we'll separate them." Here's what this means for your finances. You have been planting good seeds, budgeting, giving first, speaking mantras, praying, reading scripture, listening to these videos at 5:30 a.m. Those are good seeds, but there are weeds in your field. Seeds the enemy planted while you were sleeping. Seeds of doubt, seeds of fear, seeds of comparison, seeds of impatience, seeds of shame, seeds of the old story you used to tell yourself. You're frustrated because the weeds are growing alongside the wheat. You look at your finances and see both, some progress, some setbacks, some hope, some fear. Some days you feel like you're finally getting it. Other days you feel like you're right back where you started. You want to pull the weeds, you want to rip them out, you want to be done with them forever. The farmer says, don't pull the weeds yet. Not because the weeds are good, not because the weeds aren't harmful, because you might damage the wheat. You might pull up the good seeds along with the bad. Let both grow together until the harvest. Then God will separate them. What does that mean for you? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have no weeds. You just have to keep planting the wheat. Keep watering the good seeds. Keep showing up every morning. Keep speaking the mantras. Keep giving first. Keep budgeting. Keep waiting. At the harvest, God will sort it out. The weeds will be burned. The wheat will go into the barn. You don't have to do the sorting. You just have to keep planting. This is the most freeing thing about the law of the seed. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's not about having no weeds. It's about having more wheat than weeds. It's not about never failing. It's about always planting again after you fail. Here's your homework. Identify one weed you can pull today without damaging your wheat. One small bad habit. One subscription you don't use. One late fee you can avoid. One comparison you can stop making. Pull it, just one. Not all of them, just one. Then identify one seed you will plant today. One good habit, one extra payment, one act of generosity, 1 minute of prayer, one mantra spoken out loud. Plant it, just one. That's how you outgrow the weeds. Not by fighting them, by growing stronger wheat. Name your one weed or your one seed. Write in the comments, weed or seed. Just one word, start with one. You've learned the law of the seed. Now you need to speak it. Every day, out loud. These mantras are for the person who is planting and waiting. For the person who is pulling weeds and watering wheat. For the person who needs to be reminded that the harvest is coming even when nothing visible has changed. Say these with me, out loud, even if it's just a whisper. Mantra 1. I am planting seeds today that I will harvest tomorrow. Mantra 2. The waiting is not wasted. My roots are growing. Mantra 3. I do not compare my garden to my neighbor's garden. Mantra 4. Every small step I take today is a seed for my future. Mantra 5. The weeds do not have power over the wheat. I keep planting. Mantra 6. My harvest is coming, not on my timeline, on God's timeline. Mantra 7. I release the need to see progress every day. I trust the process. Mantra 8. What I plant in faith will produce fruit in due season. Mantra 9. I am a farmer. Farmers wait. Farmers trust. Farmers keep planting. Mantra 10. The law of the seed works every single time. Not sometimes, always. Say them again. 1 through 10. I am planting seeds today that I will harvest tomorrow. The waiting is not wasted. My roots are growing. I do not compare my garden to my neighbor's garden. Every small step I take today is a seed for my future. The weeds do not have power over the wheat. I keep planting. My harvest is coming, not on my timeline, on God's timeline. I release the need to see progress every day. I trust the process. What I plant in faith will produce fruit in due season. I am a farmer. Farmers wait. Farmers trust. Farmers keep planting. So the law of the seed works every single time. Not sometimes, always. Write these down. Put them on your bathroom mirror. Read them every morning for 30 days. Your harvest is coming, not because you're perfect, because you're planting. Which mantra hit you the hardest? Write the number in the comments, 1 through 10. Take it with you today. We've covered the law of the seed, the farmer who waited, the 3 seeds you've been planting, the 1% that changes everything, the story you tell yourself, your circle of control, the patience of the farmer, the weeds and the wheat, the mantras you will speak every morning. Now it's time to pray. Bow your head, close your eyes, put your hand over your heart. Father, thank you for the law of the seed. Thank you that small things planted consistently grow into big things. Forgive me for wanting harvest without planting. Forgive me for looking at weeds instead of watering wheat. Today I choose to plant. Not tomorrow. Today, show me the one weed to pull. Show me the one seed to plant. Give me the patience to wait. Give me the persistence to keep going when I can't see growth yet. I trust your timing. I trust your process. I trust your harvest. In Jesus' name, amen. Now declare these words out loud. I am a steward. I am learning. I am planting. My harvest is coming. One more time. I am a steward. I am learning. I am planting. My harvest is coming. Now go. Plant something today. One seed, one weed, one step, 1%. That's all it takes to start. The harvest always comes for those who keep planting. See you tomorrow at 5:30 a.m. Subscribe,